It was a gray morning, the kind where the fog clung to the streets like a heavy blanket, muffling every sound. The city was just beginning to wake, but in a narrow alleyway where the stench of rotting garbage lingered, something unimaginable was about to unfold. Officer Daniels tugged at the leash of Rex, his loyal German Shepherd police dog, as they patrolled the backstreets for routine surveillance. The city was known for its hidden corners, places where people threw away what they no longer wanted. Little did they know, this morning, Rex would discover something discarded that no one could have believed, something that would change lives forever. Before I take you further into this emotional journey, I want to pause and ask you something from the heart. If you believe in kindness, in the power of second chances, and in the loyalty of animals who see what we humans often overlook, then please, like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel, Positive Tales. Your support allows us to keep telling stories that remind the world, compassion can save lives. Rex stopped suddenly, his ears pricked high, his nose twitching with alertness. His handler had learned to trust these signals. It meant Rex had caught something unusual. The dog's steps quickened, claws scraping the wet pavement, pulling Officer Daniels toward a row of dented trash bins lined against the graffiti-stained wall. At first, Daniels expected it to be food scraps, maybe a rat, but Rex's body language was different. This was no ordinary scent. The dog barked urgently, his paws pressing against the metal lid of one particular bin. The noise echoed sharply through the alley. Daniels approached, the hair on his arms rising as if his body knew before his mind did. Slowly, he lifted the lid. What he saw stole the breath from his lungs. Inside the trash bin, wrapped in thin, damp blankets, lay two tiny newborn babies. Their eyes were wide open, staring up with a silent plea that pierced straight through him. One let out a weak whimper, the other simply blinked, as if too tired to cry. Daniel staggered backward for a moment, shocked at the fragility of the scene, two innocent lives left to be swallowed by the darkness of the streets, discarded as though they were nothing. The world seemed to stop. The distant hum of traffic, the faint sound of horns, even the drizzle that began to fall, all of it faded as Daniel stared into the bin. Rex whined, nudging his head closer as if urging his handler to act quickly. It was Rex who had found them, Rex whose instincts had led them here. Without him, the babies might never have been discovered until it was far too late. Backup arrived quickly. Officer Martinez, a young woman who had joined the force only a year ago, covered her mouth with trembling hands as tears welled in her eyes. She had seen crime, she had seen tragedy, but nothing like this. The babies were barely clothed, their skin pale from the cold. The cruelty of whoever had left them there burned in her chest like fire. But alongside the anger came an overwhelming determination. They were still alive, and that meant there was hope. The officers wrapped the newborns in their jackets, holding them close as sirens wailed in the distance, calling in an ambulance. Rex sat by the bin, his brown eyes fixed on the babies, tail lowered, as if he understood the gravity of the moment. In that instant, he wasn't just a police dog, he was a guardian angel, a silent protector who refused to let innocence be lost in the shadows of neglect. At the hospital, doctors rushed to stabilize the babies. They were malnourished, dehydrated, and weak, but the miracle was that they had survived the night. Nurses cooed softly as they checked vitals, wrapped the infants in warm blankets, and fed them for the first time since their abandonment. Daniel stood at the window of the neonatal unit, watching, his heart heavy with questions. Who could do this? Why would anyone leave two helpless souls to die in a trash bin? The anger gnawed at him, but he kept returning to one undeniable truth: it was Rex who had given them a chance to live. Word spread quickly. Newspapers picked up the story: police dog saves abandoned twins from trash bin. Social media exploded with posts calling Rex a hero, praising the officers for their quick action. People wept as they read about the discovery, sharing their disbelief that such cruelty could exist, but also their gratitude that hope had triumphed. The world was reminded that sometimes, the purest hearts don't belong to humans at all. But while the headlines praised the rescue, the real story continued quietly behind closed doors. The babies had no names, no known family, no one to claim them. They were listed as Baby Boy A and Baby Boy B in hospital files, waiting for the system to decide their fate. Daniels couldn't shake the image of their wide eyes staring up at him from that cold, metal bin. He went home that night, but sleep never came. The sound of Rex's bark and the memory of those fragile cries haunted him. He thought of his own childhood, raised in foster care after losing his parents in an accident. He had known what it was like to feel discarded, to wonder if anyone would ever want him. Looking into those babies' eyes, he saw his own reflection, abandoned, but not broken. Rex, too, seemed restless. He lay by the door, ears twitching at every sound, as if expecting to be called back to the hospital. Daniels realized something profound: this wasn't just another case for them. It was personal. Days turned into weeks. The babies grew stronger, their cries louder, their smiles brighter. Nurses fell in love with them, officers visited often, and Rex was allowed in once under special permission. The moment the dog entered the room, the babies quieted, their tiny hands reaching out as though they remembered the scent, the warmth, the guardian who had saved them. Rex leaned in gently, nuzzling them with a tenderness that stunned everyone. It was as if an unbreakable bond had been forged in that alleyway, one that time could never erase. Still, the question remained: what would happen to them now? The system could place them in foster care, perhaps separate them if no family took both. The thought tore at Daniels. These children had already been abandoned once, they deserved love, stability, and to never again feel unwanted. He found himself standing at the edge of a decision that terrified him. Could he step forward and become the father they needed? It wasn't easy. Daniels was a single man, living alone with Rex, dedicated to the force. The idea of raising two infants seemed impossible. Colleagues questioned him, friends doubted him, but every time he saw the babies, he felt the same pull. They had been thrown away as if worthless, but he knew in his soul that they were priceless. Slowly, he began the process: applications, background checks, home studies. Each step was grueling, but with Rex by his side, he never gave up. Months later, the court finalized the adoption. Daniels held the twins in his arms, tears streaming down his face as the judge declared them his sons. The courtroom applauded, officers cheered, and Rex wagged his tail proudly. They were no longer Baby A and Baby B. They were now Daniel Jr. and Ryan, cherished and loved. The man who once believed his purpose was only to serve justice had discovered a deeper calling: to be a father. And the dog who had sniffed out a trash bin had become the protector of a family. Life wasn't perfect. There were sleepless nights, endless diapers, and challenges Daniels never imagined. But every smile from the twins made it worth it. Every time Rex lay by their crib, standing guard through the night, Daniels knew he wasn't alone in this journey. They were a team, a family built not by blood, but by fate, by kindness, by the unspoken loyalty of a dog who refused to walk past suffering. Years later, as the twins grew, they would hear the story of the day Rex found them. They would look into the brown eyes of their four-legged brother and understand that their lives were saved not only by officers of the law, but by a dog whose heart was too big to let them be forgotten. If this story touched your heart, please don't leave without supporting us. Like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Pawside of Tales. Every act of kindness from you keeps these emotional stories alive, reminding the world that compassion can turn tragedy into miracles. And before we end, we have a special request. Comment below and tell us, do you believe animals, like Rex, are sent to us as guardians, as angels in disguise? Your words matter, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts.